Welcome to Tea with a Teacher, a podcast by Edjobster. I am your host, Syed Hamid Hassan, and I will interview teachers over a cup of tea and listen to their stories about how they bring a change in the society and in the life of children. In this episode, we have our guest who started her journey as a math teacher, and now she is in a leadership team of an Edtech company. She has achieved many milestones so far. She is not just a teacher to students, but a teacher to many teachers as well. A warm welcome to our guest, popularly known by her YouTube channel as Humane Maths, Miss Monica Kochar.
Thank you. Thank you, Hamid. Pleasure to be here.
Well, I would start this podcast with a first question. And well, you have an amazing journey from a teacher to a director, which reflect that you were able to give a direction to your career. How were you able to achieve the leadership role in such a small time? What was your motivation and how did you set your goals?
Very interesting question. And as I look back, I would say that I never really set a very clear goal. I came out of teaching into Indian education management industry. And I realized that sky is the limit because I stepped out of teaching thinking I'll take a break for a year or two and then I'll just go back. But it's been about 10 years and the phone hasn't stopped ringing. There is so much work available in the market. So I would say there are three things which I always focus. The first one was quality. For me, that's the central thing to anything. And I define quality as, is this going to be good for the kids eventually? And is this going to be good for the teachers eventually? These are the two questions I keep in front of me. The second thing is hard work, unconditional hard work. Do whatever comes to you. Don't have this kind of a judgment that I'm only going to work with these people or I'm only going to do this kind of work. And the third thing I would say is keep learning. Take every project, every piece of work that comes to you as your mentor. People are mentors, but work is also a mentor. So for example, if I had a project, I started by building questions for an assessment company. I went and learned, okay, how do you build MCQ questions? If you're writing a book, think, how do I write a book which is written smartly yet with depth? So these are the three principles overall I kept in front of me: quality, hard work, and learning.
Well, that's really impressive. And that should be every person's motivation and mindset when they are getting into any career in life. Well, you are a math teacher. Mathematics is not a favorite subject for a lot of students, at least not for me, because I have been an average student in mathematics in my school life. But your students always love mathematics. How do you motivate them or engage with them to build an interest for the subject?
All my students didn't love maths. I would say I was successful about 70% of times in getting them off the fear or dislike of maths. And one thing I always maintained was child first, subject later. So for me, the child came first, and I learned this over the years. It's not like right in the beginning I was like that. And second thing was I was always experimenting with some kind of best practices to teach. So some of the craziest things I have done is, let's say in a class, if the kids weren't bonding well enough to work in groups, I took them out to play cricket, boys, girls, everybody. Or in boarding school, I would even take my whole class home and say, let's study somewhere else. Or in a school which was in a forest, we went out, we sat on the trees and we worked. So overall, the question was, how do I hook these kids emotionally so that they learn to like either me or mathematics enough to learn. And then there were the usual best practices of collaborative learning, connecting maths with other subjects, bringing real life, and giving kids a certain freedom to move in the class, not to have them glued to their seats. So the end objective was very clear. Guys, you've got to do maths. And whatever works, let's fit that. And I also focused a lot on examination preparation. It wasn't just all fun and frolic. Test preparation, examination preparation. So I would take short tests, let's say 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. So almost every day the kids knew that she's going to assess us. So every time I would ask kids a question, have you understood this topic? They knew they are in trouble, because if they would say, yes, we have understood, I would say, okay, then let's have a 2-minute test. If they would say, no, we haven't understood, I would say, okay, then 10 questions extra for you. So they started reflecting very deeply. And after a while, I used to get the answers from them. We have understood, but just give us one more day and we'll come back tomorrow prepared for the test. So continuous assessments the whole year, giving them a day's break before the big summative to prepare, a month before the exams. Even when I was teaching in CBSE, I used to give them past papers and I used to say, sit at home, keep 2 hours for a 3-hour paper and solve it. And I would give them answers, cross check. So they were these very specific exam strategies, creative thinking, and connection with them, relationships.
Well, definitely. One thing I would agree with you is about the connection that you are building with students. Because in any way, if we talk about even in any business also, if the person trusts you, they will learn from you. They will be connected with you. So if you are as you are said, that you are building trust with the students, you are taking them in different ways, you are making them love you. So they will always listen to you and they will always be ready to learn from you. You are an inspiration to a lot of teachers as well as students. Has it ever happened with you that a student inspired you?
Yeah, I mean, the one student so many times, it's like, I think my entire transformation as a teacher has happened because of the kids only. And by and large, kids who hated maths, and especially the kids who are called special need kids, where none of my strategies worked. And that's how I kept on creating. But there's one child I can never forget. He was in grade 5 when I was teaching, and he brought his notebook and pencil to me and he said, can you write a note for my parents? And I asked him, what do you want me to write? He said, I want to do my homework myself, but my parents insist that they help me. So I want you to write a note to them saying, Manas can do his math himself. Please don't help him. And I was so taken aback that a grade 5 kid is so self-sufficient. So the only thing I told him was, if I write with pencil, it might get spoiled. So give me a pen. I'll write it with a pen. And I sent that note home. And his parents also responded by saying, okay, we respect Manas' wishes and we won't help him. So this whole aspect of a child of grade 5 being so clear in his head what he wants, that was quite something for me. And that's when I learned that at times we have to step back from kids. We can't always be all on top of them, helping them, thinking that, oh, I need to do something. Because I realized even in the class, he didn't like it if I would go to him asking, how's it going? And he would always say, look, I'll call you when I need you. And that was for me the moment when the epiphany was that give them space, especially the ones who say that we need space, just step back from the kids.
Definitely. Well, every kid, every child is special. They have their own skills that they are born with, and they want to do things in their way. And we should just give them a direction, tools to embrace themselves. And that's what every teacher should also do with the students that they are teaching. Nowadays, parents are sometimes very aggressive and non-cooperative. What should be a relation of a teacher with the parents? How should a teacher manage parents with problems?
Empathy. That's what I learned when I was working in the IB school. Parents are the best people to collaborate with. If you want the kids to change for better, nothing can stop that if parents and teachers work together. And it's hard because some of the parents can be very aggressive, but understand why are they aggressive. End of the day, parents are just worried about the kids, and present day parents are more worried whether they are doing the right thing or not. As a parent, they need that validation. So having said that, I can't say that this can be a blanket statement. I'll just tell you what I worked out after many years of PTMs, where by the end of the day you couldn't talk because you had some 30-40 meetings. Once I think I remember I had 35 meetings in a day. So first thing is, understand parents are in multiple categories. Majority of parents are parents who'd like to work with the teacher. They are the ones that you focus on, and they want the kids to grow up and becoming good human beings as well as good math students. Then there will be one small majority which doesn't care much. They are meeting teachers only for the sake of meeting, and they are the ones you can just have a very formal conversation and let it be. And the third parents are parents who are to come and pressurize and who are going to say that everything that's happening is a teacher's responsibility and we paid money and this and that. That's a small minority, at least in my experience, and that's a minority where a bit of diplomacy is needed plus a certain protection of the school heads. Now, majority of the parents, I worked out that if the teachers can work out a PTM in such a way, give them a chance to speak. Most of the teachers I've seen, most of us, even when we were, even as a beginner teacher, I realized most of the teachers, a parent walks in and the teacher just starts. And mostly parents don't have any space to say anything. And then their aggression just boils and boils. So after multiple trials and errors, I realized what you need to do is a parent walks in, first say something nice about the child. It can be anything. It's impossible that there'll be a child or a human being who doesn't have anything nice. Then say, okay, your child is really great here. It could also be personality. Your child is the most helpful kid in the class. And I'm amazed the way you have raised him or her. My struggles are these with the child. Let's say he is not very focused when I'm teaching. This is what I have done to tackle with this. And here I need your help. I think these words, I need your help, can melt most of the human beings on this planet. And understand that, empathize, and parents with all the heart that they have for the kids, I need your help, and how can you help me here, is something that most of the parents respond positively. Not all. There might be someone who will say, well, that's your problem. But then those are the ones that keep a little bit of a distance, diplomacy with them. But at the core of all strategies, empathize. Remember, they are just worried about the kids, nothing else.
I really like the chronology of the feedback that you said that has to be given. And I even use the same formula because I have been into the recruitment. So whenever I get a feedback from the interviewers also, I keep it in a format. Like, what are the good things that were there in the interview about the candidate? And what are the key points that the person has to improve themselves in? And then wish them luck for the next interview. So that really helps. And even the person also takes it in a positive way, even when the person is rejected. So I really liked how that can also be integrated and used in the parent and teacher relation as well. Thank you so much for sharing that thing, because a lot of teachers are going to learn from this part and they will be able to manage the parents more effectively.
So it's like I had a colleague, music teacher, Mr. David. He was from UK, and any parent who walked into his room, his first thing was, I want to congratulate you as parents for the way you have raised your child. And you can imagine how the parents would feel. And the parents will say, why? He would be very specific. This is the great thing I've noticed about your child. And the credit goes to you. And that was the beginning of, you can say, lifetime bonding. And he was authentic. It wasn't because he wanted to win over the parents. It was very authentic, and he was able to pinpoint the things that fascinated him. So that's where I also felt that this is a great way to meet parents.
Definitely, this is a very great way to engage with parents, because when you engage with them in this way, they are able to remember you for a lifetime. Going ahead, so what is your philosophy of life? What kind of mindset do you carry to grow every day?
Okay, I don't have any philosophy of life. I remember a little anecdote of a man who said, before I had kids, I had 6 theories on life, on how to raise kids. Now I have 6 kids and no theories. So it's like, before I was actually living life, I had so many theories, but now that I live life, I face every day, I don't have any theories. But if one has to sum it up, I think there are great teachers and leaders who have summed it up. So I really like something which Thich Nhat Hanh said. He passed away recently. He said, life is like standing on a seashore and the waves are hitting you. So sometimes the waves are too strong and you topple over and you go under, then you get up, then you again walk, then one day you realize, I need to figure out a strategy so I don't go under. Then you figure out a strategy. Then again, a wave hits you and maybe you're shaken in your shoes. But then a day comes when the waves keep hitting you and you are just standing there because you've figured out how not to get affected by the waves enough. That, I would say, is something I keep in front of me every day. keep learning how to face the waves, keep learning how to how to stand in front of the waves very calmly, and maybe at some point start enjoying them.
Well, every day holds a new challenge for a person. So definitely every day we learn, and we should be a learner for life. You are at a leadership role now. You also handle recruitment and interviews of teachers and other staff. What quality do you search in an ideal candidate, and what personality should a job seeker possess when they are in an interview?
A personality of a job seeker, I don't think I would be able to define, because it requires tremendous experience to be able to say. But I can say what I look for. I look for a certain attitude of self-directedness in people, because I like teams where they are not looking at me all the time for direction. So what I look for is that, can this person manage being on his or her own with some nurturing? And I'm very good at creating systems and processes. So even onboarding people, I can create a system which the people use. But at some point, I would want them to say, okay, I've learned what I wanted to learn, and now I can move on my own. That's one thing. Second thing I look for is a certain kind of again, authenticity. I like to be with honest people, and your team is with you day and night, and that is more of a sense than anything else. That is the person telling the truth. If the person is openly able to say to me, look, I don't know anything about this particular topic, but I'm ready to learn, I'm okay with that. So I think job skills are definitely needed, but they can also be taught. But a certain attitude of self-directedness and an attitude of authenticity is what I generally look out for in people.
That's really true. And that ability and that willingness to learn should also be there in every person. And that's the right way a person, when they, because see, there are two kind of people who are entrepreneurs, who are into business, and there are job seekers. And the job seekers should have the mindset, should have the personality and the right attitude to, give themselves the direction, because they are going to work under someone, and they have to choose whether they want a boss or they want a leader. If they want a boss, they will always ask for directions. They will always be when scolded and all those things. But if they're looking for a leader, they should have the ability and attitude for self-direction. We are at the final stage of our today's show. Tell us your 3 favorite books that changed your life and that you will recommend to every teacher out there.
I wouldn't really say 3 books, but I would say 3 names. One, I would like every teacher to explore Sri Aurobindo's principles of education. He has given 3 principles, which it took me about 20 years to explore and understand, especially the first one, where he says nothing can be taught. And the second one, he says mind must be consulted in its own growth. And the third one, which is something which came very easy to all of us, is education must be near to far. So one person I would want everyone to explore is, he's got his essays in education. The second is a lady called Carol Tomlinson, who is the creator and someone who has brought this whole approach of differentiation in the whole world. That exactly how do you differentiate your curriculum so that you're able to connect to all the children in the class. And the third person I would recommend is Eric Jensen. His book, Brain-Based Teaching, completely changed like my whole DNA. And he writes about bringing in whole brain education in the class. So for my education ethos and everything came from this mix of Eastern mystics, philosophers, and Western people who gave their tools. So these are the 3 names: Sri Aurobindo, Carol Tomlinson, and Eric Jensen. These are the 3 names, I would say.
Well, as you have described what people thoughts and experiences change your life, I think that every person has to find their own anecdote of success, of learning.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Miss Monica, for sharing your story with us and your experiences with us. All the listeners of this podcast, which will be mostly teachers and educational leaders, will be inspired from you and plan their journey towards success. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, because we will be coming with another episode of Tea with a Teacher and listen to stories of inspiring teachers.